Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth, the Accountability Edition.
Woo.
Can you say that again?
Accountability.
No, I meant the woo. But there was a lot in that woo.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's a lot in that woo, baby. I'm telling you,
There's
there's a lot in the woo, 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 woo. Or like Jeffrey Osborne used to sing that song. Can you woo, woo, woo? Can you woo, woo, woo? That's gonna be your motive for the night, guys. Woo, woo, woo. All right. But anyway, welcome. We're glad for you to take the opportunity to tonight. I know last week that we did say that we're going to be on Monday because I thought that the schedule had to be changed. However, we are here like we're supposed to be. Right on time, right in the right place, all that good stuff. Before we dig into accountability tonight, but accountability within the realm of spirituality, isn't that something? That encompasses so much. Okay, those of you that are in the celebratory moment of looking at Resurrection Week or Holy Week, or look, it ain't gonna be talking about this week ain't gonna make you any more holy than you were before you went into the week. Okay, I mean, if you are not offering disciplines over your life that encompasses spirituality, ain't about religion, and we won't get into that tonight, then what's the point? I mean, really, honestly, what's the point? If you're not living it every day, why are you going to try to live it one day out of the week? It's like, oh, come on now. Just be real at all times. The portrait that we just had up a minute ago was, we talked about that, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, about the wedding feast at Canaan, okay? Which is one of the true stories that most people remember about Jesus, was the fact that when he had turned water into wine, okay? That was actually at that particular event, when he turned water into wine, which was like a wow factor. So real quick on this, and then we're going to get in with the particulars and we'll start the show. So this particular portrait that I discovered and saw, it was in the Louvre in Paris, okay? And it took up a whole wall, of this this particular portrait that actually was around the corner from the Mona Lisa. Yes, I was captivated by the Mona Lisa. Okay, but at the same time, I was like, when I went around the course, oh my God, this is awesome. So the thing that grabbed me was this: all of these national, can you say for me? Nationalities, okay, that were a part of this this portrait. And I looked and said, oh my God, this is the wedding feast at Canaan. So, and then of course there was the depiction of Jesus, the way the artist saw him as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. We know that's not him, but it was just a representation, all right, with it. But the main thing about that portrait is that it let me know that there was no color divide in the opportunity to be in Christ, or be around Christ, or be it in Jesus, or be around whatever you want to call it, whatever spin you put on it. There was no problem with that, and him being embracing of the entire world. So those of you think that just because you call yourself Christian, you think you were quote unquote saved, hey, you better back up a little bit, because there's some Muslims around there. There were some Indians around there. There was some everybody was around that table. All right, so they all included. Everybody's welcome at the table.
Isn't that something to think about?
Because
there's a new movement that is more of a right evangelical movement,
to exclude people from the table.
Oh yeah, and to be of any diversity. From what he had said, the guy who represents this movement is, he said, to be honest with you, anything that's of any type of diversity is against God in a way.
What?
Well, I mean, it came up with my algorithm.
You know what? I got to say that again. What?
What?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my MG.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, that's too much. That picture would be considered too woke for today's new situation going on.
Excuse me, y'all. I know it's Holy Week for y'all,
but woke.
That's a damn shame.
It's too
woke.
woke.
God don't mind me saying that. That's a damn shame.
Yeah. It's too woke.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we will have to unpack that a little bit into the show. Let's get the particulars out of the way so we can go on and get it on there, because I know you got a lot to talk about tonight as well.
Yeah.
So want to remind you guys to support, like, share, and share. Okay. One thing about it is that you can reach us on Cash App, okay, by submitting funds, okay, to TTBTT Show at Venmo. And I'm sorry, at Cash App. Sorry, and Venmo is The Truth Behind the Truth. Either one of those, or if you're not sure, send us an email. ttbttshow@gmail. Okay, is that as well? We love your support. We keep asking. We're gonna keep asking until y'all until the money start flowing in. All right. We done started out with the wedding the wedding feast at Canaan. Okay, I should have. The offering plate went around there. And Jesus was right in the center of the offering plate going on. He said, give more. We got a light bill to pay.
But it's also if you can't give, just it's free to share and subscribe.
Right, this is true
and
too.
to like.
But you can give, okay?
And you can give a little bit, but it's free for those three things.
I ain't gonna let y'all
share, subscribe, and like.
Right, I ain't gonna let you get off.
That's free. That's free enough. That's free.
But anyway, and also you can still order the mugs with us as well. Okay, at $9.99 for your TTBTT show mug as well. The Truth Behind the Truth mug. We still have those available for you. We hadn't been showing them in the handbook. Next week we'll show them what they look like again.
Yes, and for those, I think I have gotten messages from. I think it might have been cousin Tawana about her mug. So we're still looking out for you, cousin.
Yes,
we got you. Yeah, we got you. We're just trying to get that all together.
Right, get those out in the mail. Okay, to them. Okay, need to make sure we have right addresses up. So if you haven't gotten your mug yet, that those are contributed for it. Please send that email to ttbttshow@gmail with your address and all that good stuff in it, so we can send it, and your phone number, so that we can reach out to you and make sure that you've gotten it as well. All right. So the particulars are out of the way. All right, so we're going to dig in. So we were discussing, and our wonderful second producer, showrunner Charles, is behind the scenes. He's not feeling real well, but he may pop in here or there and hit the conversation and pull back out. So he's not feeling very well.
COVID is still around, so be careful out there. Okay?
And y'all send y'all healing hands to the screen, to them vibrating healing, to his body right now. We've already done that for him, but hey, wherever you are on this planet, your body still needs to get healed. Okay, how you believe in healing, it still need to be healed. All right. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say with that. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyway, so we're basically talking about tonight about accountability, but we're wrapping it around spirituality and how the encompassing of accountability is wrapped around spirituality and everything that you do. This is, as I said at the top of the show, to most, it is what they consider Holy Week. Okay. Leading up to the resurrection of Christ. Okay. Some people like to refer to it as Easter. I don't like, I changed my vernacular about that. I think we collectively did some time ago. We're another place where we became a little bit more woke. Okay, because, and we don't have time to get into tonight. There's a separate conversation, but what Easter represents, and then some people call it pagan, somebody and all that. We don't want to get into paganism because y'all all over the map with that. Because some of y'all don't even understand what paganism means.
Well, it was a paganism.
Well, it was. I know. But I just don't want to get into it. I gotta break it down. So, but we chose basically as that. If we're looking at it from that spiritual aspect of it, we're looking at it as the resurrection of Christ, the Christ Spirit, the resurrecting. And some of you guys looking at it as the body symbolization. Okay, that's cool. But it does represent clearly the resurrecting of the Christ Spirit that is resigning in you, and resigning in the fact of being accountable. Okay, so that's our spin on it. I know some of y'all may say, "Oh my God, they went way off left field." Okay, well, that's a field we choose to walk in because that is about spirituality and the illumination of what Christ means to you as an individual, and not so much the man. Okay, anyway. So let's move on. So you had your first topic tonight about the accountability source.
Well, to be honest with you, when accountability is a very powerful thing that comes across everybody's algorithms. I mean, regardless of what it's representing. But I always say, in these times, accountability is always geared towards anything that is of finances, of dreams and stuff of that nature. But nobody talks about the accountability of a society.
Oh, good.
They always talk about the individual accountability, but nobody likes to talk about the accountability of a society and what society has allowed that is negative to happen in situations like that are going on right now in this country. It's just the fact that, people, they thrive off of telling you that you're not a victim.
Right.
They thrive off of telling you that you're not a victim because you make choices.
Right.
Well, I say if that's the case, then this country is not a victim.
Wow. Explain
this country
that,
is not a
please.
victim because of the fact that we made 78 million people made a choice to go in the opposite direction than the right direction. The right direction would have been more geared towards this country being economically sound, being at least believing in diversity and believing in that everybody has a part to play in this country that is of a democracy. Now what we're seeing right now, what's going on is that there is still a situation. There's not still. It's the fact that there's a problem in that word of in the situation of democracy, because now it's been tampered with. But the fact is that I hate that a lot of people have not taken accountability for the fact that this is where we are heading. We're heading towards a situation that we don't know too much about in this country. We don't know too much. We don't really care too much to know about certain things, about the fact that certain liberties that we have, press-wise, freedom of speech. That's going to be all tampered with right now.
Virtually probably taken away.
It's going to be probably taken away too. But that is a situation where we're going to be walking down that path where things that we were supposed to hold dear are going to be eroded. And that comes from the fact that a lot of people do not find it still their accountability. They don't find their accountability for the fact that this is what's going to happen. So it's so easy, like I said in the beginning, that accountability in the scheme of things is more of an individual situation. But as a totality of a society, I feel like there's got to be the courage for. There has to be some courage,
or like you said, the muscle.
Yes, the muscle is for a lot of people to come out and say that, you know what, we need to take accountability for being wrong in this situation, because we thought was important. What was important was the price of of eggs and whatever that was holding us down. Hey, we're wrong, and we need to set some things right. And to be honest with you, I really think when it boils down to it, we just need to be truthful in our situations right now and not make it more as business as usual, because right now it's not business as usual.
Right. Yeah,
but
great caption.
But in the caption that's now come up, what do you call it when someone hears the truth, sees the truth, but still believes the lies?
That is so powerful.
I call them complicit.
Yeah, I call it confusion.
And I call them delusional.
Right.
Complicit and delusional.
Charles, put that back up again just for a second.
That is the situation that's going on right now. Yes.
Go back to the other one just for a second. The one you had up.
And we had that caption in the last show too. There was a big discussion about it. Yeah, go back to the first one, the very, very first one.
Not that one.
we got a long list
to talk about today.
Oh my goodness.
But as he's sort of doing,
going back to accountability, I'm going to leave this one alone. But if you notice, mostly that comes across your algorithm is based on, like I said, it's always based on financial situations, business situations, job situations, relationship situations. You even have within the situation of social media, the manospheres, you have all of this stuff telling people that y'all are, because of your choices, this is where you're going. But why have nobody has come out and told us as a country that this is the situation, and we all should be taking accountability for what has happened and what we have allowed to transpire. That is the conversation instead of all this other mess.
Right.
This is what we should be really talking about, because it does go hand in hand to what is the situation individually as human beings, not only human beings, but as citizens of this country.
Right.
That is the accountability that we need to be talking about, and that needs to be on the table because we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Absolutely. I mean,
We don't know what's going to happen.
So let's unpack a few little things here. I know as per greatness, you open up a lot
Pandora's box on everything.
Yeah, well, no, it's just I like to say it not Pandora, but I think it's just you unpacked some things that needs to be sorted and looked at, versus the Pandora's box situation. So first of it, looking at the level of accountability, of course, which we virtually find that in society, we don't have that anymore. I take it back. So we do have accountability, but where has accountability been led to do? What are we being accountable for, and who we're being accountable to? So we have this, like it's that right wing individuals that have pledged accountability to an orange Cheeto piece. Okay. And they don't understand every time they go into the presence, the hands come out with orange Cheeto stuff all over. They stick it right in the bag and it come out something else different. All right. I don't care what color you stick your hand in. It could be black, brown, whatever, the yellow, pink, whatever. You stick that hand in that Cheetos bag, it's coming out orange.
Gotcha.
Okay. So these people have found, or he has put the disclaimer out there that accountability to him is the number one priority. And if you are not, which a gangster would do, okay, I'm serious. What a gangster would do is he'd have you rubbed out. Okay, and he would interject fear into the community in which he was a part of, and they would either got shot, killed, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of movies out there that play homage to situations such as that. So I heard one person say, or made it a point that I think you talked about this one day, that people were putting on social media talking about Trump's I said that name. Trump's a gangster. He getting gangstified now because he putting tariffs on people and he ain't backing down and he ain't doing this. He like the hood rat standing on the corner selling the joint. Or I'm sorry, the marijuana. I mean the coke and whatever it is out there they selling on the corner. Okay, he's the one that's right now pulling up the coat or open up the door. I got this over here, I got that over here, but I got more right in here. Okay, and depending on who you are, you're gonna get. You're gonna get something, all right. I know that kind of went a roundabout way about saying all that, but the question is where does your accountability lie? Do you not lie, but lie too, but lie in the trenches of success, and you become accountable to yourself, to your family, to all of those things? Some of you have more accountability to your religious organization versus to your own family. Okay. And that's another
or to your job,
or to your job, or to your family, and whatever the case may be. So where do you set your boundaries? Okay, where do you say that I've got to stop doing this? I've got to stop showing allegiance to something else rather than to number one, to me, myself. First off, okay. So let's equate this little part, and we'll go on. Because I know he's got some other thing. Let's equate this to what we're experiencing this week. Okay, being Resurrection Week. Do you think that Jesus's accountability was just as to what was going on in that particular event? It was a singular accountability. Okay, because in the singular accountability, he was able to achieve a multiple accountability. So in his singular decision, okay, for humanity, all right, he made a decision to say, I'm going all the way for humanity. So it was a singular decision of accountability. Okay. Do you think at any given time if he had wavered in that singular decision, okay, it wouldn't have become a singular decision. But can you imagine if he would have wavered in his decision to remain to be singular? Okay. And the power and the achievement of being singular, do you think he would have accomplished that?
I don't think so.
He wouldn't have been able to do it. Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So if you're, and I use that as an example, okay. And again, this is the kind of where we're going is incorporating spirituality as well as the commonality of humanality, okay. But where you fit, or where all of this fits into your life, what a more perfect way to look at it. So maybe if you're going to service on Sunday, you can look at it from a different perspective and be able to give more of yourself singular, okay, versus to giving more of yourself was it unilateral? I think unilateral, okay. So here's the thing. What is your singular pursuit? Where is your singular accountability? Okay, where is your singular accountability in your home, with your family, with whatever the case it comes? Where's your singular accountability in your community? Where's your singular accountability on a national level? Okay, and then goes on further into your government, position.
That's
That's
civic accountability is what, and that's the situation at hand that you're going into with that.
Right, exactly.
The singular as well as the civic.
Right. So what I mean by the singular is that, but all of these decisions, they have to be made by one person.
Almost definitely.
Okay, and where does your position as that singular person, lie in it? So are you a multiple person? So is it that you have to be with everybody in the group? Okay, Mom used to say, what you going to do, hang out by yourself or hang out with the group? You know what I'm saying? These were old sayings that they used to say. Are you going to hang out by yourself or are you going to hang out with the group? My one of my dear cousins I haven't seen in 100 years is on the show tonight. My cousin Theta, but she's a minister, in Florida. And we've had some, different conversations about different things like that. But I'm sure she could probably take this to preach on this tomorrow. But anyway, but in its inception, so I'm sure she's understanding what I'm saying in that process. And then if not, it's up for debate, okay? But the singular point, back to where I was trying to get in, I didn't mean to get off point here. But so your singular pursuit, okay, where is that right now? Okay, so are you one of those that took a wide pursuit and allowed Donald Trump to become president? Okay. Or did you singularly say that I'm accepting everything that Donald Trump has said as becoming my truth? Okay. And then at the same time, realizing that I am believing a lie. At least. Okay. Because we know the man lied. Okay. And he lies. Okay. We know that during that first time that unfortunately he made it to the warehouse. The warehouse. Yeah, the warehouse should have been. The warehouse. Okay. The warehouse. He lied 24,000 times on record. How in the hell can somebody lie 24,000 times on record? I probably ain't, well, I ain't gonna say that now. I mean, we all probably had over the course of our life, we probably it's lied, maybe a little bit more in that individual, but here comes accountability. So there's one thing of stretching the truth. I use it to save people, okay? And then there's another thing to outright lie, okay? And then outright try to make that lie become a truth. Wow. That was our first caption up there. Charles, put that back up one more time if you can. So where does that put us as a human species, as a culture? As a African American culture, as a Caucasian culture, as a Jewish culture, or as an American culture. Yeah. Okay, are we pursuing the truth of that singular understanding for ourselves, or are we conglomerately gathering ourselves around a lie? Okay, and then trying to make it become the truth. Okay, so I'm gonna stop at that point. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But that's so funny that Charles, pulled up a picture of Candace Owens, because when he did that, it just sparked up something in me.
Go ahead.
The fact that she's in the midst of rebranding her product. Her product in the beginning was more of a MAGA product.
Wow.
It was more of a product of beating down on anything that seemed too liberal and too progressive and too woke, and then also beating down on the situation where of Black oppression, where how that saying that I'm not oppressed, I don't feel oppressed, right. So I'm okay. I don't know why y'all feel like y'all cannot lift yourselves out of your own situation. Why won't you take accountability for the fact that y'all are you're struggling because you are playing the victim? That was her stance. Now in this situation, well, hey, now in this situation, she's having to rebrand because she has fought a fight against Israel, with her stance against with their stance against the Palestinians, and on top of that, she does not like what Trump is doing right now. So she's having to try to find herself in the midst of a kerfuffle with her original crew, with her original audience. Okay. They're not accepting her situation right now. So I wish she would take accountability for the lies during the situation of the actual election, where she was doing total research on Kamala's past. Wow. Going and digging her heels in the sand, saying that she's not Black. Went as far as to look up information about her father. Wow. And trying to figure out who he was related to. Wow. It's just the fact that right there should be an example of somebody needing to take accountability for the fact that we are in this situation because of the mess that you spewed. But that is the situation.
Wow.
That is the situation that we're talking about in singular. But it's going to also take a whole community or a whole society of people who believed in that,
right?
Believed in her rhetoric to say we were duped into believing that we thought this woman wasn't true. We're talking about Kamala. I'm talking about Kamala. That this woman was not truthful in who she was. Nor did I believe that she wasn't ready. Instead of saying I don't think she was ready. I didn't think that I was ready to take in a woman president. Let me take that back. Instead of saying she wasn't ready, I wasn't ready to take a woman as president.
Good.
That is the accountability that I wish more people would say out loud. It wasn't that she wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I didn't want no woman to be president. Even when Hillary was, I didn't want no woman to be president. I wanted somebody like Trump because he represents the patriarchal ideas that I grew up to believe was the true way society should be led. A man should be leading the country, not a woman. The man should be leading the house, not a woman. But then there's this. But then I read, but I listened to this guy on Hype. Comedy News, and he said something so profound, especially within the African American community. It's a shame. Now, this is what he said. It is a shame that there are certain black men who would want black women to submit. But in our culture, within the African culture, there is no such thing as black women submitting because black women have always, along with black men, have always taken the reins as co-partnering in the way of let's just say controlling the household or building a kingdom. There was never no submission. There was always the black woman had her place beside her black man while he was king. She was also as well as queen, but she also had no form of submission, unlike our European brothers and sisters who believe that a woman should submit at all costs. That's why there are laws right now that are on the books who are, they're trying to make sure that women lose their right to property. They're going as far as women losing their right to vote.
They're pushing their narrative.
And on top of that, and to own their own body, to control their own bodies.
So, no.
But that is the situation at hand.
So you brought up again. You
unpacked it. Go ahead.
It impacts a lot of different points. The one that we got to get ready for a break here, just a sec. But I want to go back to what you mentioned about relationship within what you were saying, and how our focus is singular responsibility or accountability at this particular point in time. Let's just say, in the sense of marriage, well, we're married here, but in the sense of marriage, okay, and I'm looking at the sense of marriage, okay. Now this is going to prick some of y'all, all right. The sense of marriage is between two people. It doesn't matter what sex they are, all right. So let's. I'm not going to get on that political perspective of it all, but I'm saying that the sense of marriage. That's why I'm prefacing it the way that I do. All right. So what it says is that in quote unquote in scripture, now I know some of y'all, that's a man and a woman. No. Okay. It's marriage is a covenant between two people. Okay. Between two people that are willing to be committed to one another. Okay. Now I'm not going to get in the Bible study, but I can go there with it to you as well. All right. But anyway, so you got whatever two couple. All right. That wants to be engaged with each other in the process of that piece of paper, that legal piece of paper, that legal document. They want to be together, okay? And they want that representation of under the headship of their spiritual awareness, okay? At the end of the day. Some people don't even go that way, all right? Because they've been ran from it. But anyway, but what happens here is that they come in as single individuals. Okay, they come in and say a single idea for this and a single idea for that. All right, but in that singleness, they find that commonality, that love, that good looks, that whatever he had, or he had, or she had, or whatever that drew that person in. But at that point, they have made a single commitment. Okay, they made a single commitment to one another. And scripturally speaking, it says the two. It didn't say man and woman. It said the two become what?
Equally yoked.
One. Exactly. It said the two become one. Okay. Understanding how singularism is so very important about how you move yourself throughout life. Okay. Even in your, again, as I said earlier, your daily activity, you need to move through it as a singular individual. Okay. Because what you expect in a universal group, you never get as a single person. Because you hear differently, you see differently, you respond differently, you have better understanding differently, and you become more accountable differently. Okay? Very important things right there, guys. Very, very important things right there. So accountability represents singular. I get tongue-tied, sorry, with those words in that. But anyway, we'll get into more of this, okay? We're going to elevate a little bit deeper. All right, we got a quick break. We'll come back and we're going to talk. Maybe Charles joins for a couple minutes before, so we'll see. All right, well, guys, we'll be right back in just a minute.
Call 844-55-STARZ. It's Junk Stars, baby.
Hey, my name is Thurston, and here I have my CEO, son Langston. We specialize in junk removal, dumpster rental, and demolition. So if you need junk removed,
call Junk Stars.
You need dumpster rentals,
call Junk Stars.
All right, and we are back, guys. We are back. All right. Just wanted to remind you real quick as we dig a little bit further in, just support all of our cash venues that are up there. They'll pop up on the screen from time to time. From Cash App to Venmo, they're available for you to contribute it to us. Your mug purchases are there. I'm getting tongue-tied tonight for some reason. I'm thinking singleness or whatever. All of that's certainly available for you today. And if we can possibly, if you'd like to call in and give a quick comment, preferably tonight, text.
Yeah, please do.
Please do. You can text right in to the show to the number that will come up on the screen, or you can call. If we have an opportunity to answer your call, we will. But I would prefer tonight for you to go ahead and text. It's a little bit easier to manipulate that opportunity at that. But you can do that and put your comments in the comment box. Okay, please share in. If you don't like what I'm saying, say JB.
It's free.
It's
free.
Okay.
It's very free to share, like, and subscribe.
Absolutely. And
nobody's asking for money for that.
No.
You don't have to pay for that.
Well, maybe.
You can pay. Well, to be honest with you, it'd be nice. But other than that, though, it's for free.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for free.
So, and then just say, hey, JB, I don't want to agree with what you're saying. That's not understanding my panacea of my life. Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right. It's an absolute here because it's backed up by so many different levels. But and here again is in your singleness, you need to raise your bar. Okay, you need to raise your bar every time that your eyes open up. All right, you need to raise your bar every day. But anyway, go ahead with your point now, and we'll continue.
And I hear what you're saying, but to go back to accountability, the only thing I don't quite understand is when accountability is being forced on the little man.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by the little man, I'm talking about people, for example, the average American who has to get up every day and do 2 to 3 jobs, or you could be the average, for example, mother as taking care of your children. But the fact is, it's just that has been thrown down our throats to the point that you have somebody who you say has accountability, who thinks he has accountability, but he doesn't believe in accountability at all. He is sitting at the hem of leadership. Then he has friends within the rich oligarchy class who don't take on any type of accountability for what they are doing.
Right.
We have talked about people like Elon Musk, and we're talking about people like Mark Zuckerberg and all these people. And we utilize these people's platforms. We're utilizing these people's platforms right now.
Right.
But the fact is that these people are now running things right now.
Yeah, they are.
And the saddest thing about it is that these people are not taking accountability for what is now happening.
No.
But they will have platforms for those who are like us, who have to get out there and work in the public sector and take on as much exploitation and as much abuse, and say, well, you know, this is the reasons, and this is why you are stuck in a situation because of your choosing. This is what accountability is. You chose this. But why isn't that this is not forced are not thrown at those people who really control the narrative right now? Well, those people who need to be told that y'all are accountable for what it is that is happening in this country. You have people who are building AIs to make sure that people like me and you who have to go in and do a job, that we are replaced. And we're talking about a situation called tariffs. This is no joke. Right. This is no joke. China is laughing at us, and I'm not even trying to play the fear mongering game. But this is the reality of a global society that we as Americans, we don't like to say that we're part of. Right. We're on the other side of the world. This has nothing to do with me. But China is telling us to our face, listen, y'all don't manufacture anything in this country. And you know where the accountability starts? With all of you all. Because you voted your manufacturing plants out of the U.S. and outsourced them towards us. Now we are making your junk. Right. Your name brands, your luxury brands are here in China. So if you want to come and get a product that has no tariff over it, you need to fly to China and come get it. Because at the end of the day, your president has made it so hard for you now to buy your stuff without all these heavy taxes. Right. But it's so sad that at the end of the day, the accountability is still not there. Right. It's still not being said to those who really believe that, oh my gosh, my vote don't count. I'm gonna sit this thing out. Right. You know, Trump, he a businessman. He he has the art of the deal. Well, this is the beginning of this is the art of the deal. Yes, it is. And if you don't believe that, if you have not believed in the first situation called, I always talk about Atlantic City, because this is if you don't know the story of Atlantic City, I'm going to have y'all do research. Go do your research on Atlantic City, because Trump built so many casinos down in that part. They all went bankrupt. And they all went bankrupt. And the city of Atlantic City has never gotten up off the ground. They're more in a situation like Detroit. Because they can't seem to get themselves together because of his situations with businesses and not paying his people. This is the accountability of Americans, that we allowed this man who could not even run his situations now to run our country. That right there is very telling. And yes, when it boils down to our freedom, our leaders within the community are not doing a good job. Are not setting the standard. Nope. And I'm going to take accountability. We're all leaders, and what we are in our individual lives. Absolutely. We are all we all should be taking accountability for what we need to be doing for our community. But you do have organizations that need to be out there doing the work. Right. I'm just. They used to call them foot soldiers. Foot soldiers, yeah. You need your NAACPs and your SCLCs. Where are these people? Where are these people? You got a child now in Texas who's about to get on death row because he has stabbed another child because he was harassed at a tournament. And the fact that nobody has said anything about it, I'm all over the place, but that is another example. Nobody has taken accountability but the average Black American to spread this word. But you have organizations that are not doing the will of the community. And you don't have churches, Black churches. I'm just gonna put y'all out there who are not doing the will of the community. The father of the slain child has raised up to $3,000. $3,000 more than that. He might have got more than that. I think it's more than probably 3,000. But I think that's 300,000. 300,000. But But the saddest thing about that is that we don't know what what we are doing for that one.
Right.
But like I said, that's an accountability that we as individuals need to be doing and doing, at least doing our part to do what we need to do to better the situation.
Right. Well,
but that's me off my soapbox.
So I think, and again, you unpacked a lot.
I did unpack a whole luggage. I'm still trying to figure out, like, oh my God, did I go all over the place? And I'm hoping and praying that y'all are catching up with what I'm saying. Because to be honest with you, it's just the fact that this topic is so
needed. Number one, but
it's like it's really those situations that we, you can just throw at
right.
subject matter. It's just the fact that we need to be accountable about a lot of this stuff that is happening in our world.
But so let me try to bring us some of that light of what you said together here just a little bit.
Yes.
So number one, as you just said, we need to be accountable to situations. Okay, so number one, first level of accountability is allowing yourself to be informed.
Please do.
Allowing yourself singularly to be informed. That's also either in a proper setting or in front of your computer, phone, whatever, watching the truth behind the truth each and every week and each and every broadcast, past, present, and future. Okay, to bring yourself into alignment of yourself with proper information. Now, again, you don't have to believe everything that we say in here.
Please, don't believe. Do your own research.
But this is kind of said,
behind the truth. Always do your research.
But you will find that what you have heard on the truth behind the truth aligns with that thing that information that you're pursuing. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, is to surround yourself with better ideating people. Okay, surround yourself. I think we have a posting about that too, Charles. I think you can pop it up at any point while I'm talking. Surrounding yourself with the proper people. Okay, because if you surround yourself with people that are not going anywhere, guess where you're going?
You're not
going nowhere. Okay, so that's another level of accountability. Here we go. Market yourself, brand yourself. Okay, promote yourself, network yourself, and guess what? The number one thing is, invest in yourself. Okay, single point, single problem. If you started implementing those things right now, tomorrow when you wake up tomorrow morning, you will find your life will start to move forward in a different pattern.
I need to implement half of that within my situation.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie, that's true behind the truth for me. That is that right there. Market yourself, brand yourself. Yeah, that's something that actually I would say I would need for myself as well.
Okay.
And I would take into consideration.
And me too as well. And we can again unpack those situations why we're not in that frame of mind. Real quick. Church, family.
Life be life.
It's just true. You got why most of us are not there and being able to single ourselves on this category because of belief systems. Okay, belief systems are formulated in our families and our homes. Then they go to the place of worship. Okay, then it goes to the people we hang out with. Okay, then we're not getting affirmed by those first three groups. Okay, then we start seeking otherwise. Okay, and that starts tearing away at our emotional status. It starts tearing away of our self-identity. And then we become what is become in most cases a chaotic mess. And then we run to other things to soothe the disappointment of what we didn't get from those 5 points we just read. So we run to wrong affairs.
Yeah, food.
We run to food. We run to, like I said, sex. All of these other type of things.
Retail therapy. People go through stores and buy random stuff to numb their situation. Yeah.
So singular. Exactly. Drugs. Okay, because when you start facing yourself, it is a very difficult thing to do. So it's either way what we do, we'll do it, we just don't deal with it, and then we'll always start pacifying the fact that we need to change something about ourselves. So I figured that if I eat a lot, I don't have to think about it.
The accountability aspect of it's change.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's change.
Absolutely.
It's definitely change.
Absolutely. We don't like to change. We don't like to change. And I understand that we're all there, blood, trust, and believe. We're all there. We don't like to change. However, in order to move and live in this life, you got to change. Because otherwise, if you don't change, you ain't changing your underwear every time you get up. Then if you don't like change.
Yeah.
And some of y'all ain't doing that either. But anyway, that's another story.
But you know what's so funny? You saying change and saying that there are people who don't want to change. That is the reason why we're in situations in situations that we are going through right now. And like I said, there's a situation where as the average person having to pay high costs, rent, food, groceries, bills, all that stuff. Because there are people in this society that don't want to take the accountability to change.
Right.
And what I mean is change their ways of thinking, changing the
Right.
hatred within themselves
Right.
and the insecurity within themselves. Because hatred comes insecurity.
Right, absolutely.
Because the fact that you don't want me to have, there's an insecurity in you that don't want me to have because you don't have.
Right. The key operative. That's it right
and
there.
that is the accountability
That's
that
it right
needs
there.
to change.
Absolutely.
And that is the problem that we are in right now. That's why, as a country, we are not thriving in the right way.
No.
We're thriving backwards than we are forwards.
Right.
And what I mean, driving backwards is not a very positive thing.
Right. No.
It's not a positive outlook or a gateway out of something that we have seen before.
Right.
We have seen certain things before, and we are trying to get away from them things.
Right.
But then you have people who don't want to change.
Right.
Accountability, they don't want to change. But go ahead. I stole your thunder
That's
right
okay.
there.
No,
I'm sorry.
You struck another point. I'm gonna just
Go
pivot
ahead.
just for a quick second.
Don't pivot.
Those of you that when I bring up movie references or musical references, I do hope that you take the opportunity to go and check it out for yourself. What I'm saying. So the movie Hairspray, phenomenal movie. Phenomenal movie.
And Broadway show too.
And yes, exactly. Phenomenal movie. And I'm speaking. Even the Ricky Lake version was good, but it wasn't quite as up to speed as the Queen Latifah, John Travolta, and all Mickey Brosky and all the rest of them version of it. But there's a song at the end of that movie that it has a lyric in it, and the lyric simply says that I'm paraphrasing it. Why are we looking in the rear view mirror? Okay, when everything behind us is gone, gone, gone. Do you think about that? Why do you consistently look in the rear view mirror? There's nothing in the rear view mirror that you need to be pursuing. What you need to be pursuing, singular individual, is what's in front of you. Okay?
Sound like Lot's wife didn't do that. If she would have stopped looking in the rear view
The
mirror,
mirror,
she would have turned into a pillar of salt,
she
right?
would not have been.
Because that's what she did. She looked in the rear view
She
mirror.
looked in the rear view
instead
mirror.
of
She
looking
looked
forward.
back. She looked back. We should learn from that. Come on, Bible people.
Yeah.
You should learn all of that automatically. You should know that. You ain't got no business looking behind you. Okay? Not looking back behind you. And then here, oh my God, that just impacted us so much. I mean, that was one of the problems with the children of Israel coming out, because half of them folk got out there in the middle of the desert talking about, guess what? We had it better back in Israel. God, I had my little pork on the grill, and and I had my greens getting cooked in the pot. I can't have all that out here in this place. It's too hot out here. I need to be back in the way I can at least fan myself in some shade. Again, being a little emphasis putting on the color spin on it, but they were people of color that were out there in the desert. All right, so let me just keep moving. So, but in the realization of that is that what they did is they started trying to go back to Israel. Okay, because their mindset was not in a singular pursuit. Okay. Moses came with a singular pursuit. Now I don't know. Do we ever talk about what Moses did? Maybe we can. But start out with a singular movement. There was one singular movement moving to where? The promised land. Right. Okay. But somebody in the midst of them black folk, just say, girl, I'm being funny about the women. But girl, I had my hair together back then. It's too hot out here. I can't keep my braids together. I can't do it. Or he could say, man, she was banging back in Israel. I don't know what happened to her. She don't look the same now. There's too much sweat going on. She don't look the same. Her bosom and her butt don't look like it did back in that's I'm just being truthful. I'm just being honest. She don't look the same like she looked back there. Okay, so then he tries to implement. Anyway, all right. But point is, it's just I'm really trying to get you guys to understand that actively back pursuit is not the way you should be going. Singular vision moving forward is what you should do. All right. Last one I'm bringing up, that we're gonna get close to wrapping this up here. We were looking at the 10 Commandments last week, right? It just happened to be on.
That's the greatest story ever told.
No.
I get them confused.
No, thank you for bringing that up, Charles. And you guys can read it and dial on it, refresh this. Give me just a minute to bring up the Moses point right here. Leave it up, Charles. That's fine. The Moses pursuit, okay, and I'm going to call it the Moses pursuit, all right, in this case, okay. So Ten Commandments was on last week, and and I'm a very intent listener to to finding information and what comes out, and I got stopped in my tracks because I don't know if I missed it or just never kind of pinpointed it, throughout the hundreds of times I've seen the film. So if you miss what I'm saying tonight, watch it, rent it. Go back to the point where Moses went up to the mountain, okay, and had his conversation with God, okay, or his sit down or his come to meeting with Jesus, whatever you want to call it, okay. So when he gets down, the question of in his singleness, okay, came to him by his wife and by Joshua, okay, and they asked, well, what did God look like? What did you see? Moses said, I did not see a man that looked like me. Wow. They were like, oh. They were expecting him to go and have this wise counsel with this figurative man. What did Moses tell them straight up? And this is so in line of the way we see things. Okay, we expect. I know I'm jumping around here. We expect to see this full embodiment of what we think that Christ looked like to be returning. But that's a whole nother conversation another time. I know I didn't jinx somebody's chain when I said that. All right, but anyway, so Moses clearly told them. He said, I didn't see him as a man, as you suppose. He revealed himself to me in my mind. Wow. I was like, what the heck? I stopped in my tracks. I said, Cecil B., you got that point right on. Because you obviously read the scripture in the way that it should be presented. How many people have missed that and watched that movie? But you want to be this whole events and create all this. Moses clearly said that he revealed himself in my mind. I was like, wow. So later on, and we're gonna get one more, we'll go back to one more. Later on, so you down the road, if you scripture follows, Paul clearly comes back in Romans, okay, and tells you that you're only separated from God in your what? Mind. Singular pursuit of understanding. That is the only thing that separates you because you don't believe, you don't understand, you don't accept, you don't want, because guess what? Your place of worship or wherever you choose to go, don't tell you that the singular mind of separation from God was the only way because you didn't pursue him singly in your mind. Once your mind gets right, okay, the rest of you can get right. And I don't mean in the religious sense. That getting right is getting right for yourself. Getting right to be able to do the things that you've been called to do. I know that sounds churchy, but I mean, there's a calling on everybody's life. You can be a good administrator at work. You can be called to do pick up trash. Whatever that call is, you can singly pursue to do it right. So the last part about Moses, real quick, okay, was what else did they say? They had talked about the word. Okay, very, very deep here, guys. I mean, very, very deep. Okay. What God said, and you can check it in the scripture, all right? What he said is that he would put his word in the hearts of his people. Powerful movement right there. In the hearts of his people. So the scripture goes on and on and on and on after that. You go down to Ezekiel. Okay, Ezekiel talks about that as well. Paying reference to back to this. Check it out. It is written in the hearts of men of what the understanding of God is, not following a piece of law paper plastered on a what is it? One of them buildings, the Capitol buildings or whatever. You know how these people, these white evangelicals, they want the evangelicals. They want everything plastered out there. Oh, well, we following the 10 Commandments. No, the singular pursuit of following the 10 is you better be watching the 3 that has already been plastered within you. Love God, love yourself, love humanity. The rest don't matter if you ain't following the 3. Follow the 3. Singular pursuit of 1, 2, and 3. Follow God, follow yourself, follow humanity. Be that example. Okay, go ahead, jump on that because I don't want to get any more than that. I have to shut up. Go ahead. I know I said a lot right there. I'm trying to bring it all together for you.
I agree. But the accountability is love.
Absolutely.
That's where it boils down to. The accountability is choosing to love.
Absolutely.
But we rather choose to divide and conquer and hate.
Yep.
That is much more easier than love.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's where we're at this point.
Absolutely.
We're at a point where we are allowing somebody we don't know who has status to tell us that it's better off to keep ourselves away from certain sets of people, certain sets of ideology and beliefs.
But
And
isn't it? But yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But isn't that? This is my point. I'm shifting to the church community for a moment. Isn't that what people are being told every time that they assemble themselves together? Is there a place of? I won't say every time. I'm sorry, guys. I know that some of us are, in the family there, but the large majority are not. All right. But isn't that what we're necessarily told? In the places of gatherings of worship and things of that nature. Isn't that what we're told? So actually, we're being told something that is becoming a reality in our life every day.
Yeah.
We are manifesting what we believe. Okay, because you're manifesting hate, drama, dislike, discord, all these other type of things where you're manifesting that in your presence because of what is you're pursuing. Okay, singular pursuit. What are you pursuing singularly? Okay, so if you're not doing this, great. If you're not assembling yourself in that situation that is not bringing out the aspect of love, like you said, why not? Okay, why is that a problem for you? Why is it a problem to understand your singleness in getting there and accepting this about people? Why is it? Why do we assemble ourselves together to discover more hate, as you said? Okay, why is it that people of color, I'm going to say people of color, and I'm going to say black people, all right? Why do we pursue hate now?
Why do humanity?
Well, no, I'm going to say what else just for a second, because we have to speak from our platform, and then we can, wade humanity into that.
Yeah.
So why is it that it's okay? Why is it popular to talk about white people? And most of the time, you don't even have a relationship with nobody. Why? Why do we find it? Well, because they talk about us like that, and I'm going to have them talk about me. Okay. But why is it right for you to do that? Why is it? Why is it that just because somebody is a Republican, that you feel like they are a racist? Or they don't know what they're doing? Okay? Or they don't have the clear understanding of what this political game is. Because they decide they have conservative values that their pursuit? That's a question. All right. Why do we do this? Those are the whys. Why do we do it? Is that accountability? Is that accountability to your brother? Is that following the 1, 2, 3 step? Love God, love yourself, love humanity. That's been the model of this show since we started it. Anyway,
it's the other way around.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the other way.
It's the opposite way around. So this is something that we, as this week that we're in, okay, and everybody been giving up this, not eating fish, not eating pork, not eating whatever you're not eating. And this is a week of Lent, but don't be the Lent. Okay, don't be let me get picked off. But understand, why are you doing all of this? Why are you going through the motions and you're not willing to change the single pursuit of yourself on an everyday basis? Okay, so come Good Friday, some of y'all are gonna go to church if you're Catholic or whatever. Catholics will get the little cross. The Pentecostal folk will probably have a noonday service, hoping it rains so they can be symbolically of that. Baptists will do what they're going to do. Church of God in Christ going to do what they're going to do. Everybody going to do what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do to change that narrative? Where are you going to show the love of Christ each and every day in your life? Okay, you don't have to declare it. Oh, I am here to show the love of Christ.
But you don't also have to. You don't have to show the love.
No,
of Christ.
I
Why
don't.
don't
You don't
just show the love of
just love. Period.
It doesn't have to be based on Christ. See, and that's the thing. We need as human beings need to stop trying to base everything on a platform or ideology or a religious ideology.
Okay,
or political
you better stay there.
Going
in there.
Ideology. The fact that why do you need to be Republican or Democrat to get things pushed? Why can't you just be? Why can't we just be
simple?
And the saddest thing about it is it's always going to always be in a situation where you're going to have to choose one from the other. Absolutely. And that shouldn't always be the case, but that is the accountability of change that is needed especially for this nation. Because I hate to say this, what you said about why do we feel like Republicans why do you say that? Most blacks would say that being a Republican, that means you support racism. But
Uh-huh.
you know, there was once a time where Democrats were racist.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Supported racism.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that in itself is
in some sector communities they still do.
And they still do.
Yeah.
These two parties have existed for such a long time.
Yes.
Even though they make up a different their platforms are totally different.
Right.
But there's still that blurred line where there's still a tradition that is still there to support certain ideologies that are still offensive, and it's but still though.
Right.
But that's an accountability that is needed. We need to change. We need to change for the better. If we don't change, this man is going to be here for a long time, and there's going to be a lot of men like him.
Right.
Who are going to be in his place for a long time. Yeah. It's going to have to take the American people to take on the accountability role that people who would throw down individual situations, until our faces saying that you need to make a choice. Well, it's time for as a country to make a choice whether we're going to revert backwards in the rearview mirror or we're going to look forward.
Right.
But I think, to be honest with you, we're now like the children of Israel wandering in the desert right now. We're wandering right now as a country. We're wondering, I'd rather us, you still have people talking in small doses. I think it was best when we were with Biden. But now I think, you got some who saying, well, I think it's best that we're now with Trump. I think we're best that we were in the situation now with Obama. There are people who are trying to figure out when we were at our best.
Right.
And to be honest with you, we're in a what they call the Temptations called a ball of confusion.
Oh yeah, okay,
We're on a ball of confusion.
And another point of your question, I mean, what your statement right there. So when have we actually been at our best?
That's a good question. I always go back to the fact that when we first elected our black president,
okay,
I felt we were getting somewhere,
moving in the right direction.
and we were moving in the right direction.
Right.
I thought, but then old forces still come up out of the corners, right? Because they do not like change,
right? Well, and then one of the sad parts about that is that
old forces. I didn't say young forces. That's the old forces.
President Obama could not even get into office good, and they were already trying to disqualify him.
Yeah, make him a one-term president.
And he did not get into office in that opportunity. It was just like, the election night, boom, they went to, was it Wrigley Field? Out there, the massive amount of people that were there on that election night will still always go down in history. I'm sorry, I've never seen, I don't care what election there's ever been, that massive amount of people that had gathered of all nationalities. Okay, I have never seen in my little short time on this planet, I don't think I've ever seen the gathering of unified people for that particular moment in history. Never. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just a sea of beautiful colors each and everywhere that it was on that particular night. I've never seen that. And for the likes of it, unless I live to 189, I probably won't ever see that again.
But it was polar opposite of this.
Well, this
man.
thing, oh God, yes.
This man,
I was trying not to go there.
At his situation, just signing executive orders and throwing pens into the audience. But the saddest thing about that is, like you said, they didn't give Obama enough time to really settle in. They gave this man a lot of time to settle in. And when he settled in, he has now made a man-made mess that a lot of his supporters were not
chaotic shithole.
Man-made chaos. That now some of his supporters will not take accountability for the fact that this is what they chose.
Way to bring it home, brother.
78 million people chose this man-made chaos.
Right. I don't believe it was 78 million people that did that. I know that's what they were releasing, but I don't believe that.
Well,
I don't believe I'm just saying. I don't believe that many people voted for that man. I think it was another rigged situation. I think that they wanted it for specific reasons because you have to think about it. That man in 12 years has not ever not been in the news. Okay, not ever. And whenever there had not been a day that has not ever mentioned that man in some sort of fashion, whether it was scandal, and more scandal, okay, and then more scandal on top of more scandal. They found a way to keep that man in front of everybody's face. Yeah. So chronologically speaking, they put him back in that office.
Yes, they did.
There's a chronological reason why he got back in that office, and it was not that many people voted for him. I just will not believe that. And
And when will the media take that accountability?
Well,
When will the media take that
There you
accountability?
go.
And
There
I
you go.
cannot
And
wait
mean,
for them to stick it to some of these pundits when you have people on there saying, you know, this is what's going on. But I wish somebody would say, y'all chose this man as well. When you were complicit in his lies, you chose this man.
Yes, you
You did not even fight him on anything. You
Yes,
just
you
you
did.
chose to stay complicit because you had a role to fulfill.
No.
And you made
You
too
had
much money.
money.
Too much money.
You had a financial obligation,
And that's what, and
you know,
that's
and
why he's in there now.
whoever you are making these backdoor deals with, okay, and some of y'all have made backdoor deals too.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yes. Yes.
woo, we just talking about one that just made a backdoor deal the other day. We talk about that next week after Holy Week. All right.
All right.
We talk about that one that up in that man that's standing over there like I am the one over the Senate that everyone, the House Speaker. The backdoor deal he just made.
Mike Johnson. Well, yeah.
Yeah, he done made a few backdoor deals that y'all gonna be finding out pretty soon.
Yeah, it's gonna come out.
Because people ain't keeping quiet these days.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
So I wonder what you're gonna do when you find out what that backdoor was about. But anyway, I'm not going there tonight. All right,
Yeah.
we staying in singular. We staying singular. We staying singular. But then he did do a singular backdoor deal. But anyway, well then again, it could be a few at that gathering
It's gonna come out.
of the peoples
It's gonna come
that
out.
he pursued and ground with them.
A mess.
I'm dirt. Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna
mess.
drop that nugget and we'll keep on because it's about time to wrap up the show. But anyway, so what did we learn tonight, guys? Okay, what did we find in the midst of what we articulated, you know, tonight? And to some of y'all, well, I couldn't find it. It was all over. No, we weren't all over the place. We were giving you examples, okay, of what to see, what to look for, where to find yourself, whether you're in it, have been found in it as a leave that up, Charles. Very good point. Thank you for that. Finding yourself in the making of all of these opportunities that we've been talking about tonight. Are you a person that lacks in love? Okay. Are you a person that doesn't, that constantly looks back in the mirror, expecting something to change? Were you looking behind you? Okay. And not pursuing in front of you? Okay. Are you a person that just can't get along with people? Okay. But all of these behaviors are single behaviors because guess what? You are a single individual. Start out the conversation tonight also about speaking about the singular pursuit of the wedding feast at Canaan. All right. All those people were there for a specific purpose. Okay. And that purpose brought about a certain unity. And that purpose was depicted in this painting. Okay. If you want to see it closer and understand what I'm saying, you can Google it. Just put in the wedding feast at Canaan. It will pop up. It'll be different angles of it or whatever. You can look at it and you can see that there is the symbolic Jesus right in the center. And around that table and up on the balcony and everywhere else, there were different denominational people. Okay, not denominational religious, but then that could have been that too. All right, but take a look at it and study it for yourself. Okay,
and also that was the day Welch's juices.
Was
incorporated.
That's right.
Was
Yeah,
first
was corporate.
Welch's
Yeah, absolutely.
juice
Some of y'all
first
believe that too.
incorporated.
Welch's grape juice. Jesus made grape juice in there. That's what he did.
That's right.
So, and as the word does say, he turned water into wine. Okay,
right.
But it was also stated by the people that were there that this was the best of the house. So that meant they took a sip and they got drunk as a skunk. All right. But anyway, so
don't worry, they will realize your words one day. They can't find someone like you. That's right.
Exactly. Thank you for that one, Charles.
Right.
That is a great way of kind of summing up what we've been saying tonight. Your single pursuit, you know, don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? They will realize all of those connected pieces, all those dots that you feel like they're, they will realize your worth when they can't find someone like you.
That's right.
All right. And let's hope that is not a thing when you're on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work on getting our flowers right now. Okay. Because at your funeral or going home celebration or whatever the case may be, you can't smell them damn flowers.
No, you cannot.
You know, you can't smell them. You can probably look down on them if you believe that. You know, which I do. I think everybody's there hanging out at their own funeral, you know, orchestrating it and everything else. All right. But that's another conversation. But back to the serious point, though. Anyway, so look at that. Look at your single pursuit. The rest of this week, you know, as it is in most sectors, is considered Holy Week. Okay, fine. But look at it, a wholesome week. Okay, a wholesome week, but Whole means what? Singular. As Christ had that singular pursuit to knew that what he was going to face. Okay, you have that singular pursuit in the greatness that you are as an individual. Okay, don't deviate from that. If you have a problem in helping to understand, get around people with the same like nature. Put them in your circle. Have conversations with those type of people. Okay, that are going where you're going. Stay away from the people that are telling you to look in the rearview mirror. Okay, stay away from them because they don't mean anything to your pursuit of your single life. And number one, and after you're doing all of that, it helps you become accountable. Okay, spirituality in the lane of accountability. That's it. Spirituality in the lane of accountability. Man, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Truth Behind Truth tonight. We hope that you have, can and take in a lot of the things that we said this week. Hope this will frame your idea as you're going into Sunday. If you choose to go to some place of worship and, celebrate, great. Hey, I will applaud you for that. If not, the way you see the resurrection, but if whatever it means to you, allow that let something be resurrected in you different. Okay, than what you had been doing before. Let that be the resurrection. Let it be the singular resurrection. Let it be a resurrecting of a new mindset. That's a good way to go about it. All right. So we will see you right back here next Tuesday evening. All right. Dig into some more of the truth behind the truth. All right. And we love you. We love you. We love you. Love you. Support us, please. Like, and share and support us. All right. All this information. Boy, it's a lot right here going on. But it's a lot to help you see yourself better in a better place in humanity. All right. Love y'all. Have a great week and happy Resurrection Day. Bye.